Okay. Good morning, everyone. Apologize for the late start. We had some technology issues that we just got resolved. This Government Employees Retirement System of the Virgin Islands regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Thursday, October 24th, 2024 is hereby called to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Nellan L. Bowery.
Present.
Trustee Bowery present. Trustee Andre T. Dorsey. Trustee
Present.
Dorsey. Trustee
Present.
Dorsey. Trustee Dorsey present. Trustee Vincent G. Liger.
Present.
Trustee Liger present. Trustee, ex officio member Cindy Richardson is represented by
Valsina Kwashi, Deputy Director.
Valsina Kwashi, Deputy Director. Trustee Ronald Russell, E. Russell. Trustee Russell absent. Trustee Leona E. Smith. Excused. Trustee Smith excused. Trustee Dwayne A. Colwood present. Trustee Colwood present. Mr. Chairman, 4 present, 2 absent, 1 absent, 1 excused.
Thank you. Are there any comments and suggestions from retirees? Hearing none, are there any comments and suggestions from active members? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the Secretary's minutes from the regular meeting on September 26, 2024. Are there any corrections or edits that need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I so move.
Moved by Trustee Bowery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Dorsey. Have a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Bowery.
Yes.
Trustee Bowery, yes. Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger.
Not voting.
Not voting. Trustee Russell, absent. Trustee Leona Smith, excused. Trustee Colwood?
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 3 yes. 1 not voting. And 1 absent, 1 excused.
Thank you. Any communications and correspondences we read into the record?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next up, Chairman's report on October 2nd, 2024, along with Administrator. We met with the Governor and a couple of his members of his financial team. We had a discussion with respect to the 3 percentage point increase that was contained in the resolution that we adopted at the September 26th meeting. On October 11th, I toured the Havenside Hotel along with the Administrator and Mr. Sean Miller. That concludes my report.
Point of information, Chair.
Yes, sir.
When can I get a tour of the property?
May I? Trustee Dorsey, the developer has expressed openness to any member of the Board of Trustees touring at their convenience. So if you would please let me know when you would like to tour, we can arrange that for you. And that extends to other trustees as well.
And also, thank you, CEO. Also, Chair, what was the outcome of the meeting with the governor as related to the 3% increase, which I definitely requested to be part of, but I guess you can let us know now what was the outcome. What's the governor's position? And are we finally moving forward with the increase, or do we have to make any adjustments in this meeting?
Trustee Dorsey, respectfully, I would defer to Chairman Colwood.
Okay, with respect to this, there's no, as we sit and speak today, there is no outcome to serve the meeting. For the most part, we presented our financial position with respect to the cash flows, the same presentation basically that was made by the actuary during our board retreat. We just reiterated that the system is still about 10% funded, and that despite the cash flows that were scheduled to receive from the SPV, there's still a potential for the system to be insolvent somewhere around 2037, 2038. The governor and his team indicated that they were looking into some potential pockets of funding that they may be able to identify. So I assume that when they conclude whatever research, they will reach out to us at that point. But I don't think, based on the conversation, I don't think that they were in a position to make any definite requests.
Okay, so did you, Chair, did you or the CEO recommend to the governor that he look to cover the administrative costs based on what we were told by our advisors, that cost being covered along with the 3% increase, along with where we're at in terms of our return on investment currently, that could somewhat head off the upcoming insolvency? Did you have any recommendation between yourself and the CEO at the meeting to recommend to the governor?
That was presented to the governor. Part of the meeting, our actuary was actually involved in the meeting as well.
And it was also made at our annual review to the legislature.
No, I'm just referring to the governor, CEO. He had need to know the importance as to why we increase, as well as the general public, as why we increase the 3% on the government's portion of the plan. That it's not about what's in the budget or not in the budget. It's about assisting this system so that we don't go back down that road of insolvency. And this was one of the strategies that we had need to bring home to the governor in this meeting, that he still needs to present that to the Senate as a proposal. So I still think we as a board need to present to the governor the importance of the administrative costs being covered to head off, because we don't have an unconditional position with this note from the PFA, but with this special purpose vehicle. That was one of the things that was lacking from the beginning of this transaction. We don't have an unconditional position. So we're always going to be short with this cover over at 1050. The unconditional would have took care of the difference between the 1050 and the 1325 on the cover over. But because we don't have it, we really don't have no teeth in the game at this point. So from a board position, we need to at least write him, put something in writing, not just meet, but put something in writing indicating the importance based on what our advisors explained to us at our retreat.
And Trustee Dorsey,
can we do that today? Chair?
Trustee Dorsey, both positions were presented both to the legislature, which is on the record, as well as in the meeting with the governor. And with regards to the 3%, it was not a proposal, it was a statement of fact that the Board of Trustees has a legal right to increase by 3 percentage points in January of 2025 the employee contribution, and that is our intent at present based on the board's resolution. That still stands.
I agree with that, CEO, but I was just referring to what we got from our advisors in terms of heading off. I understand we all understand it. You mentioned it when you went to the Senate to do your to testify in reference to our financial position, other operating issues with the system. But our advisors was very clear at the retreat that we recently had that where we're at right now, we could possibly head off even without the unconditional guarantee coming from the government, right? Coming from the sponsor of the special purpose vehicle. that's given us the note. So with the shortcomings, I'm saying that we need to, it's my recommendation, we need to take a position with the governor, or the governor being the sponsor, to just say, hey, we need this administrative cost covered. This would help offset any possible unfunded liabilities that we see in the payouts coming from the note, and because of the shortfall of the cover over, to make up that difference, possibly make up that difference of the 1050, between the 1050 and the 1325. Whether this Congress approves the increase or not, that would be something that we could do locally. That's all I was saying.
Trustee Dorsey, from my perspective, I think that we are in agreement. I would recommend to the chairman that perhaps to discuss some of the items that were discussed with the governor, that we may want to discuss that in executive session.
I concur, but I want to put on record again that the actuary was part of the meeting, and the same scenario about the government covering the administrative costs that was presented to the governor, the very same charts that were presented at the board was presented to the governor and his financial team.
So what, Chair, what was the governor's reaction after seeing the charge from the advisors? What was his reaction, or his financial advisors? I'm not assuming people even understand the charts that are in front of them. So what was the reaction? What was the comments?
You're looking into possible pockets of funding, and that's where they are.
Can you repeat that?
As indicated before, he and his financial team are looking into possible pockets of funding.
Okay. So then he's in agreement with our position. Is that what you're saying?
He saw the presentation, he was given information. At the conclusion, that is what their position was. They're looking into pockets of funding. They didn't agree or disagree. What was presented was facts, calculation. There wasn't anything subjective.
Okay, thank you, CEO, and thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Welcome, trustee.
Just to add a little bit of texture to this discussion. The governor has gone on record, I assume since that meeting. I'm not sure of the date, but I know I've heard him make a public statement that he thinks the $3.8 billion that they gave to GRS is enough. So, you know, his comment was kind of, we gave them a lot of money already. And the sense was that I'm gonna be careful I don't say anything that he didn't say, so I'm not sure I'm quoting him. But my take from the statements is that he's saying that, I know for a fact he made reference to the fact that they've given us $3.8 billion, and he thinks that's enough for GRS. I'm pretty close to a quote there. So I'm not sure whatever that means, but that's a public statement he made, and I think it was in one of his press conferences or something, but I don't recall. But I know I heard that with my own 2 ears from his mouth.
So I heard, it was brought to my attention that, and I think you're kind of close to what the actual quote was, but I know that was made in a press conference or one of his press briefings prior to the meeting. I don't know that since we've had a meeting and he saw the presentation that he's said anything. I can't say. I have no knowledge. But I know it was said before, and I did make it clear to him that even had we gotten $3.6 or $3.8 billion on day one of the SPV, at that time the unfunded liability was between $4.5 and $4.8 billion. So even if we had gotten all the money on day one, we still would have been in a hole. And we all know that getting $3.6 billion today in one lump sum is not the same as getting it spread out over 30 years. So he did acknowledge that much.
Okay,
Because both, we've now had 2 years of shortfalls in the
Correct.
expected.
So I did make it clear that even if we had all this money on day one, we still would have been in a hole.
Yeah.
Between 800 million and $1 billion. And then that was reiterated or confirmed by the actuary in the meeting as well.
okay. Okay.
Point of
Just one last thing on this thing. So what's the next step? So the board has approved the implementation of the additional 3%. So is there any other step that needs to be taken, or we just go ahead and implement it? How?
In nothing, it goes into effect January 2025.
Okay, okay.
Point of information, Chair. Been following Trustee Bory. I think there was something written where I don't know if it was written, but I think I kind of remember the same thing in reference to us receiving the note. Was there any discussion from the meeting, anything that was against what we did at all in that meeting?
I'm clear as to the question.
Well, meeting that we're requesting an increase, because yes, we have the authority to do that now as a board to go into effect in January of the next year. So was there anything else that was said that you can recall that where the administration wasn't comfortable with us increasing at this time? Because that was one of the things that was mentioned during the Senate session with the CEO. If the CEO had any discussions with Government House, and I think the CEO said he was getting his marching orders from the board on that issue to increase. So is there anything else that we need to know about as trustees?
No, I made it clear what was behind us making a move to increase. It was that we were entitled to do it by statute, and the system was only 10% funded, and it would be highly irresponsible and would be the relation of duty if us as a board has a potential pool of money somewhere that we're legally entitled to, and we don't ask for it. We don't try to get it.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where we're coming from. I made it clear. And it was all about numbers. It was all about numbers. So it wasn't a subjective something.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on to the administrator's report? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll present the administrator's report at this time, beginning with meetings, presentations, and appearances.
Point of information, CEO. Sorry, Chair. I did have another question, not related to the 3%. The September document, CEO. I had asked you if your security was part of the meeting, and you were telling me they were not part of the meeting. If I remember clearly, I was asking, I had a question for your security related to the security issues of the system itself. Remember, I made the scenario that it was recently a judge who had got shot by the marshal or the sheriff who's supposed to protect him. And then I was asking you about your security requirements, or if you're looking at that at the GERS, and then I was talking about the mental health or maybe some of the employees, because we're not sure what that was about, the individual shooting the judge. And of course, that was in the States. But I was talking about the security of the employees of the system as well as yourself, of course. If we had something we could possibly set up where people would have to walk through a detector versus just punching a finger on a computer board to show your picture and to say who you're going to see when you come into the GERS. The security you have now they don't really leave behind the desk other than maybe assist someone who's not, up on the computer system they have to punch in. But from what I see, there's no real check. They might look at a bag, but they're not looking at the individual. They could have something on them, not have something on them. And I know we have the Justice Department in the building who would probably have weapons on them, but
Trustee Dorsey, let me interrupt you.
Uh-huh.
As a law enforcement professional, you don't want to discuss your vulnerabilities in a public forum.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we could discuss it on the executive session because
Please,
it was in general, so that's why I was discussing it.
please.
But the point I was making with the CEO, when I looked at the minutes, it said that security was at the meeting and the security never came to have any communication. They're part of the people who attended the meeting. So I was a little taken back that I couldn't get that question answered at the time. When I did ask the CEO, is your security person here? I called the individual out and I'm waiting for this person to come forward, and I came back to the CEO. But now when I got the notes, I'm seeing that the security person was here as well as the manager for the mall. And I had questions and I didn't get that answered. So it came across as though they were not here. But for some reason, they're showing up in the notes that they are here. So at least at that meeting on the 26th.
You should have raised this issue when I asked if there were any edits or corrections to be made to the minutes. We already adopted the minutes, we move on. Let's get to the agenda, please.
Can we bring that security up on the executive session today, Chair? That's a serious issue. If it's not a problem. Can that be added to the executive
Yes,
session?
sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Okay, proceeding with the administrator's report. On September 26th, that was our last board meeting. That was exactly 19 business days ago. October 2nd, as indicated by the chairman, we met with Governor Bryan with regards to the 3 percentage point increase. But before that, on October 1st, let's take a moment and celebrate the 65th anniversary of the Government Employees Retirement System. That was in fact our birthday. We are here on St. Croix today. We have open houses today on St. Croix and tomorrow on St. Thomas. And we certainly look forward to members of the Board of Trustees being able to join us at least one, if not both, of those celebrations. Proceeding with the calendar from the last meeting on October 3rd, I had a meeting with a member with regards to their retirement qualification. On October 4th, there was a VITEC statement of work review. On October 9th, I had another meeting with a different member regarding their retirement qualification. October 9th, I had a meeting with Havenside Tenant. October 10th, I was a panelist at the Governor's Workforce Summit. October 11th, I had a meeting with our architect regarding the Havenside green space, which is progressing. October 11th, we had a Havenside hotel visit with the chairman. And once again, members are free to request a tour and I'll arrange that. October 11th, we also had another meeting with a Havenside tenant. October 15th, I attended the Port Authority public hearing on fee increases. October 17th, we had a prep meeting for our inaugural Friday night at Havenside. And on October 18th, we had our inaugural Friday night at Havenside. And I note that the manager at Havenside is on this meeting, Mr. Mills and Mr. Moorhead. I'd like to publicly commend them for an excellent effort with regards to that first event. So thank you guys. We intend to continue to do innovative things at Havenside to make it even more valuable to the community. Mr. Chairman, that's just the meetings, presentations, and appearances. Continuing on with the report for member services, retirement applications. Thus far in 2025, fiscal 2025, we have had one application for retirement. From 2024, we had 241, of which 102 have been processed, with 139 remaining. We have a total of 155 applications for retirement pending. Contributions processing, refunding, and death benefits for October 1st through 2023 through September 30th, 2024. We have a total of 44 such items that have been paid for a total of, 710 for a total of 7,800,000 rounded. We have 44 cases pending. Death benefits, excuse me, we have processed 52 cases for a total of $2.5 million, and we have 61 cases pending. Annuity payments for October 1st, 2024 through October 15, 2024, a total of $11.3 million have been paid. For that same period, we've had 15 retirees added to the payroll. And for the October 15 period, we've had 15 paid to date. Number of retirees expected to be placed on the payroll for October 31st, 2024. Pay date is 5. Number of retirees deleted from payroll from October 1st, 2024 through October 15, 2024, 14. As of October 15th, 2024, the gross payroll has arrived at $11.3 million. A disbursement by location, we have 9,410 disbursements as of October 15, 2024, of which 1,724 were outside of the Virgin Islands and 7,686 were within the Virgin Islands. Personal loans, as of September 30th, 2024, we have a total of 2,516 rather loans between St. Thomas and St. Croix. 2,449 of those are personal loans, and 67 are mortgages, which are legacy mortgages from previous periods when we were engaged in making mortgage loans. Total outstanding in loans is $23.7 million. Of that amount, $12.3 million is in St. Thomas and John, and $11.4 million is in St. Croix. Operations, in terms of the St. Croix complex, we do have the need for some repair and painting to the Casino Control Commission building. And in terms of maintenance, we have a need to replace one of our HVAC or heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems right here in this building, which is why we're in the conference room and not the boardroom today, because at the most inopportune time that unit went out, but it has been serving us well for 15 years. So I guess it's time. At the St. Thomas complex, the renovation to the southern flat roof is 90% complete. And we will be discussing in a resolution later the need for a replacement of the western roof, which also at the most inopportune time, or maybe the most opportune time, started to give us some serious problems. As indicated previously, at Haven site, the hotel project is 70% complete. According to the developer, we should still be looking at a completion time frame of late March, early April, and they are on schedule. Our generators is another success story. We have completed the construction of the building and the pad to enclose the generator at Haven site, the new generator. And the vents and ducts are being manufactured, and that is 50% complete. Rental collection, we had some very meaningful meetings with Justice, and as a matter of fact, they were able to make a large payment, which I think eliminated their arrearage on rent. We have some detail with regards to that. We have no arrearage from the Department of Justice for rent, but we do have a small arrearage for utilities, electricity, of $15,660. I was, what shall I say, joking, but not so much, with the representative of the Division of Personnel that they would be kind of on the spot today, because we do have an arrearage for rent from the Division of Personnel. It's not huge, $19,000 for rent, but $43,000 more or less for electricity. We will not necessarily ask you to address that today. We will ask you to go on the record, however, with your name, which we did have earlier, but if you would repeat that.
Valsina Kwashi,
Yes,
Deputy Director, Division of Personnel.
excellent.
It is my pleasure to say that we are updated on our rent. It was paid on October the 8th.
Is that's not reflected in our records?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we'll allow you the opportunity to reconcile that number with our Chief of Operations, Ms. Asia Clinton and Gums, because as of this report, that is not what we have reflected, but it could be some innocent mistake along the way. Okay, but personnel is usually quite good with their payments, so we're just happy to report, frankly, that a six-figure arrearage from the Department of Justice has been addressed. Okay. And that would conclude the administrative report.
Okay, your report was as of the end of September, I take it?
Yes, it was. So yes, so actually the number may be updated since then, but we don't have that captured as yet. So thank you for that information.
Okay.
Any questions for the CEO?
Yes, Chair, I have two questions. The October 3rd meeting that you had in reference to retirement qualifications, what exactly was that about? And you had a follow-up meeting.
No, it wasn't a follow-up. Those are two separate cases, and this is routine GERS matters where someone may think that they're qualified to retire, but when we do the research, they're in fact not.
Oh, that type of meeting. Okay, I thought it was something else.
No.
And then the VTech statement of work review, what was that about?
Well, as you're probably aware, as you're probably, may I proceed?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so as you're probably aware, we're in the process of migrating from the current version that we're on to the newest version, and there's work involved with that, and we're finalizing the scope of work.
Also, CEO, can you have the, I guess it would be Mr. Thomas, if he's part of this meeting, be part of the executive session related to my security question? I was just saying that from now. Also, on your list.
So just to clarify, Trustee Dorsey, Mr. Thomas, as head of our information technology area, doesn't really have any direct input to physical security. That is overseen by our.
Well, I didn't want to, as CEO, I didn't want to go into more detail, as the chair said, to talk about your weak areas. I mean, if you want to talk about it now, we can, but I was asking.
No, I was simply going to clarify that Ms. Asia Clinton and Gums, our Chief Operating Officer, oversees physical security, so she would be the more relevant person, and she's here. Mr. Thomas would be responsible for cybersecurity, which is, I don't think, the area that you've expressed concern in your preamble.
You don't have my full thought, because technically I can't really say what I want to say, CEO.
Okay, fine.
So I was kindly asking if he could be in the executive session. He is the expert in the technology. This is a technology security question. Ms. Clendenin is not the expert. He's the expert.
Fine. Mr. Thomas is working today, and if he's not on already, he can join us at the appropriate time.
So the green space Haven site, I didn't see anything in reference to the building for tourism and the plan on that particular project. Was that all part of the same meeting?
Yes, Trustee Dorsey.
What was the status on that? What's the status on the plans, the design for the building?
It is progressing apace.
Okay, and then you attended a Port Authority, public hearing on fee increases. What exactly was that about?
Well, this doesn't have anything to do directly with Haven site, but indirectly it did because it's the matter of the fees that you may have read about publicly, and the increases that are being imposed by the Port Authority that will also apply to WICO. So to the extent that there could be any impact on cruise ship arrivals, we of course have an interest in that because of our ownership of the mall. So it was merely to monitor what was happening, which is a part of what I do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions for the administrator? All right, hearing none. Thank you for the report, Mr. Lawson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, are there any committee reports? Should be in analysis. All right, the treasurer's report.
I would indicate that our CFO is on leave, and in her absence, Ms. Lucilla Ostry and Ms. Monique Richardson are filling in as a senior division. So I'm not sure who's on. Ms. Ostry is on. Okay.
Yes, I'm on. Just trying to share my screen. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, board chair, other board trustees. Good morning, everyone. The government
morning.
employees retirement system schedule of receipts and disbursements for the month ending September 30th, 2024. The receipts of collection is as follows: loan repayment, $632,441. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $5,684,269. Rent from tenants, $235,257. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $1,184,545. The employee retirement contributions that was collected, $7,467,113. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $100,626,519. Employee retirement contributions, $4,349,408. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $56,728,843. So the total collection for September 2024 was $12,694,699. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $290,580,033. In terms of the disbursements, annuity payments was $22,886,827. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $273,334,968. The administrative expenses is as follows: $894,623 for the month of September. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $14,986,381. In terms of the refund and the refund of contributions, in the month of September, we paid out $1,260,166. Year-to-date fiscal year, $12,156,809. So total disbursement was $25,100,854. Year-to-date fiscal 2024, $319,353,979. giving us a net cash deficit of $12,406,155. Year-to-date fiscal year, also a net cash deficit of $28,773,946. The local collection for the month of September was 51% of what was needed for the disbursement, which was $25,100,854. Fiscal 2024 year-to-date collection were 30% under fiscal 2023 year-to-date collection. The administrative expenses were 66% of budget, which were in total is $14,986,381. Year-to-date withdrawal from the investment portfolio was $145 million. So we draw down $145 million for fiscal 2024. Then we move on to the Havenside Mall schedule of receipts and disbursement.
Could I ask a question on the,
Sure, you could go
before
ahead.
we move on? Yeah, so where was it? You made some reference that we have spent 66% of budget. That's shown in the notes.
In
Okay,
terms of the administrative expenses?
yeah. So this is as of the end of September, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is the end of the fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
So and we spent 66% of the budget. Where was the big gap? Where was the difference between what we budgeted and what we actually spent?
Well, capital projects, in terms of our VITEC projects.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Well, so in terms of the operating expense, are we within budget then?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Okay.
I had a question, Chair. The drawdown.
You're breaking up.
I'm not hearing him.
Okay, Trustee Dawes, you're breaking up. So turn off your camera just for a second and state the question. I see that.
Hello?
Turn off your camera.
Yeah, I was asking.
Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to join back in. Let's go ahead and move on, and then when you join back in, we'll try to get this question. Okay,
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, Dorsey.
Yes, I was asking the 145 million that you drew down for this year. Was that less compared to last year? Are we drawing down less or are we drawing down more? Because I can't remember last year's number.
I think we draw down the same amount. The difference is the 20 million was drawn for the loans portfolio.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Okay, out of the $144 million, 20 million of that $144 million consists of the loan payments.
The money for the loan
The
program.
loan portfolio that we did.
So if you take out the portion of the loan program, then that means we would have drawn down less this year?
No, we drew down about the same amount.
Same
Yeah,
amount.
but he conditioned that by saying if we were to exclude the 20 million for the loan disbursements.
It's the same 120,
120, 125.
That's it.
We're on the same.
Which is less than 145. Which is what he was asking.
Hello?
Did that clarify your question, sir?
Yeah, I was asking if we subtract out the loan portion, you're saying it would still be the same amount as
It's
last
about
year?
the same amount as last year. I believe we drew down 120 million.
Oh,
This
okay,
year we did 125.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, proceed with your, the rest of the reports.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the Havenside Mall. Schedule of receipts and disbursement, month ending September 30th, 2024. The receipts of collections, in terms of the total collection, we collected $412,862. The disbursement, total disbursement, $299,666, giving us a net cash surplus of $113,197. Year to date, the total collection was $5,313,313. Total disbursements year to date, $5,603,634, giving us a net cash deficit of $290,321.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
Have we received any rent payments yet from the hotel? Lease payments?
No, we have not.
Okay, when do you recall when the first payment is supposed? We're supposed to get the first payment?
I am not sure, but I defer
It's
that
tied,
question to the
it's tied to
administrator.
the completion of the hotel.
So we don't get the first payment until the hotel is completed. That's not my recollection of what the lease agreement was. I could be mistaken.
It's not my understanding either, Chair. Attorney Myers, is there any way you can clear that up for us?
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna attempt to, sir.
for me, I'll take, I mean, so is your representation, Mr. Administrator CEO, that the first payment is not due until the hotel is completed? That's your recollection?
That's my understanding, subject to further clarification, but then of course there's a increasing scale over time based upon a percentage of revenue collected as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's, you know, it's a two-step process. There's a minimum amount that's due regardless. And there's another amount that's based on a percent of gross revenue.
Which of course they don't have as yet.
Right, or whichever is higher. So that's what I'm saying. So there's a minimum amount. And then there's an amount that's based on percent of gross revenues, whichever is higher. But regardless, there's a basic minimum amount. And my recollection is that, anyway.
Point of information, Chair.
Attorney Myers will get that clarification.
Point of
Okay,
information, Chair.
Yes, Dorsey.
If Trustee Bory is done, point of information.
I'm done.
That is well.
Between the board, council, Ms. Clendenin, Gums, and Attorney Myers, my understanding was that we were supposed to get paid because this was a lease. This was a lease. And then at some point when this project opens up, doing business, we would have a scale where we would get paid based on the income coming off of the property. So that's how I remember we agreed to do the deal, along with the project owner rebuilding the center for tourism and assisting in the green space, and then of course, they would also get additional parking. So did something change? I'm speaking to board council. Did something change along the way? Attorney Williams.
Trustee Dorsey, I don't know that, I'm not aware that anything has changed.
Nothing has
The lease is what it is. One of us would have to pull it up. I don't think any of us have memorized what the lease terms are. We didn't anticipate this question. I assume Attorney Mize was trying to find it in the system. If that's not possible, then one of us could try and find the lease that we can answer your question, but off the top of at least my head, I can't answer your question without reviewing.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine, counsel. Ms. Gomes, can you answer the question?
Good morning, Trustee Dorsey. No, unless I read the fine prints, I would be misspeaking from going from memory. But truly, what Mr. Dawson stated and what you stated is exactly what the broad terms are, that you do have a lease and a profit share. Rental amount and a profit share.
Is there anybody in the Haven site office online that can answer that question? We have a new manager. Is he online? I'm sure he's probably done his review since he's been online, since he's come on board. Can he answer the question?
The hotel has nothing to do with Haven site market, so that's not, yeah.
It's a leased property on the Haven site. Can the new manager answer the question?
The manager manages the mall. The lease is not between a hotel and a mall. The lease is between a hotel, the developer, and GERS. So that doesn't fall under the purview of the manager for the mall.
So the manager of the mall has nothing to do with leases of property. Is that what you're saying, Chair? That's not part of his job spec.
The property was not leased from Haven Site Mall. The property was leased from the GERS. The manager for the mall manages the mall.
The property sits on the mall property. It's a lease. It's a lease on the property. So you're saying he has no say in what happens on that property? The manager of the mall?
Mr. Dorsey, the lease is between.
I was speaking, hold on, Mr. Attorney Meyer. I was speaking to the chair.
I responded to you twice. I think Attorney Myers is trying to say
Okay,
the same thing.
Okay, that's how you understand it. What does the lease say, Attorney Myers?
I'm currently, I cannot pull it up as of right now. I've sent word to have it sent to me.
Trustee Dorsey, if I may, there's no attempt not to answer your question. However, this was not an agenda item, so we didn't have the research and prepared to discuss that in detail today. However, since you've asked, we are in the process of reviewing so that we can answer you factually.
So the only thing I was saying, CEO, this is a property, on the dock. We have a new manager. I'm sure he has done his due diligence to check into the different properties, the different businesses on the property. And now I'm told by the chair, this is a separate issue within the property. So this is like a business within the business, right?
So two things can be true at the same time, Trustee Dorsey. The fact of the matter is that the lease is between the GERS proper and Haven Development. That is a fact. In terms of the oversight and just being aware of what's happening on the property, of course the property manager is aware of what's happening on the property. But that doesn't mean that the legal relationship is between them all, which is not a separate legal entity, and Haven Development.
Okay, so you had finished, Chair? I'm sorry, CEO, you had finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I was saying, let me just ask this question. Who's responsible for the collection, since you're saying the mall manager has nothing to do with those?
The GERS is responsible for collection. There is in fact a fiscal employee of the GERS that is situated physically at the mall.
I'm not hearing Trustee Dorsey. I don't know. I don't know if it's my computer or his.
It's he said, Trustee Dorsey, you're breaking up again.
Okay, so if I may, we do have the lease.
For those collections, it's not the mall that's responsible like they are for the other businesses on the property at the mall. So is there someone in the main office where you sit, CEO, who's responsible for the collections of the rent on the hotel?
Okay, so let's go back over a couple of things. The mall is not a separate legal entity. It's essentially a division of the GERS. We do have an employee of GERS. All the employees at the mall are employees of the GERS, let's make clear. We do have someone from the fiscal office that sits physically at the mall to facilitate collections of rents at the mall. But it's still a responsibility of the GERS. However, more to the matter at hand, which is Trustee Ari and your question with regards, you need to put back in your comments. We have the lease present. So with regards to the first year, and we'll circulate the lease so that everybody's recollection is refreshed. Year one, the lease states the greater of a minimum rent of blank, and I'm not going to state it publicly because this is a private matter, but we'll share it with the trustees, or percentage of rent of 1% of gross revenues in the first full calendar year following the hotel's opening. The hotel is still under construction.
Okay, so year one begins
After the construction of the hotel and it's open.
okay. Okay.
And we'll share the lease. And this was not an agenda item, so we didn't have it handy. There was no attempt to evade a question. We just didn't have it present at this meeting.
I understand, and I accept your response. I mean, I say, you know, my recollection obviously could be faulty. All
of our recollections, so that's why we'll share it to make sure that everybody is refreshed, including ourselves. But there's no delinquency whatsoever.
So Chair, to the CEO again, I was just trying to be clear. The mall personnel you have, we know they're GRS employees. That was not my question, CEO. I was asking in terms of collection of the rent for that property, which we're talking about is the new hotel going up. I was asking, like all the other businesses at the mall, they go through the management office at the Haven site property. I guess unless you changed that up since you came on board.
No, that was still the case.
So you're saying that for the hotel, I was asking if there's somebody else who's responsible for that particular collection. So what are we saying different? Because I thought that since they were physically on that property, that they would be, the people at the mall office would be responsible for any issues they may have, like they have for all the other businesses on the property. So it's a different arrangement than what's been happening on the property prior to your arrival?
No, Trustee Dorsey. Trustee Dorsey, it's one part of the question is moot in that there has been nothing to collect for the hotel for the lease thus far. At the point that there are collections to be received from the hotel, ultimately, the chief financial officer, who has an employee that sits at the mall, will be responsible for collections with regards to all tenants at the Havenside Mall property, of which I guess you could say loosely the hotel property is a part, but ultimately it all flows through our chief financial officer, and then of course to myself.
So what is it?
In the terms of the physical monitoring of the property, yes, the property manager is at Havenside Mall, and even though he has no direct role to play with the hotel, he's there, and there's a good relationship between the GERS and the developer, and our property manager is a part of that.
So Chair, what did I say different? What is it that, I'm sorry, Chair, I'm sorry, not the Chair, the CEO. What did I say different?
I don't know what you said.
I'm telling you that we're in full agreement.
Oh, you're saying we're in agreement. Okay, if that's what it is, that's what it is. I was just trying to understand. Thank you.
Okay.
We can move on, Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any more questions for the treasurer? With respect to the treasurer's report? Can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So move.
Moved by trustee Dorsey, is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by trustee Barry. Have a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Barry,
yes.
trustee Barry, yes, trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
trustee Dorsey, yes, trustee Liger,
Yes.
trustee Liger, yes, trustee Russell absent, trustee Smith excused, trustee Colwood.
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes, Mr. Chairman, 4 yea, 1 absent, 1 excused.
Thank you. Somebody will say something? Okay. Next up, we have the investment officer's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, other trustees, and everyone else. This is an update of the GERS portfolio as of September 30th, 2024. Just to wrap up the month in summary and pretty much the fiscal year. Global equities saw gains for the month and the quarter despite pronounced volatility on several occasions. US shares continue to advance within the month, with some resilient corporate earnings over the period helping to settle investor nerves. International equities gained with emerging markets outperforming developed markets, and our fixed income markets boosted by interest rate cuts and the prospect of more to come delivered solid returns for the month and for the quarter. What that meant for the plan in terms of performance for the month, a total plan was up 1.7% for the month. Fiscal year to date, we saw a strong 22% return. Total domestic equity was up 2.1% for the month. Fiscal year to date, we saw a strong return in domestic equity at 35.8%. Total international equity returned 2.6% for the month. Fiscal year to date was up 25.9%. Our total domestic fixed income portfolio returned 1.5% for the month and was up solidly as well at 12.6% for the year. What did that contribute to in terms of cash flow and dollars? We ended the month at approximately $497.2 million in value of the portfolio. We began the month at about $488.8 million. We had a net cash flow of about $26,000. We had income of about $112,000. Unrealized appreciation in the portfolio for the month of about $8.3 million. That brought us to that ending market value of approximately $497.2 million. Fiscal year to date, as you see, we began the fiscal year at around $413.5 million. We did have a negative cash flow throughout the fiscal year of about $21 million. We saw income of about $691,000. We did have a significant unrealized appreciation in the portfolio of about $104.1 million for the fiscal year. That brought us also back to that $497.2 million market value at the end of the fiscal year. For the month of
Before you go on, can I interrupt?
Sure.
Could you explain a little bit more what the $104 million is?
Okay, so the $104 million would be the total amount appreciated in the investment performance, appreciated within the portfolio throughout the fiscal year.
Okay.
So this is how much we earned on our investments throughout the fiscal year, unrealized.
It's unrealized because we haven't cashed it in. Just reflected in the value.
Correct.
Okay, and so is that where the how do you translate that in terms of return on investment, in terms of a percent?
So in terms of percent, if you go back to the performance schedule,
Yeah.
about 22.2%.
20%, okay. Let me ask a question. The 19 or $20 million that we invested in the loan program, we can earn at max 8% on that, right?
Yeah, we should be on 8% on that.
So had we, if we didn't invest it in that program, which class of investment would it have fallen in?
That's a tricky question. We sourced those proceeds primarily. I would say it probably would have been in somewhere in the equities, somewhere within the domestic or international equity bucket. That's primarily where we sourced most of our cash for the fiscal year from. So probably would have been somewhere in the equity bucket.
So instead of 8%, we would have been earning what on that?
Well, it's hard to say how much we would have won, but it would have been part of that accumulation of whether the 35.8% in the domestic equity or the 25.9%. I think total equity, I think we earned about 30%, I believe. If you combine both domestic and international equity, I think we earned like 30% for the year. So it would have been somewhere in that bucket. It would have boosted somewhere in that bucket.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, may I point out that while that's the case, these are which is great. These are historically high returns,
Yep.
And of course, unusually so. So it is not as if we could have predicted we would have been to 20-30%. 8%, of course, is guaranteed for the life of the loan. And then there are other benefits in terms of benefits to our members and benefits economically as this money was spent in the territory. So, and it exceeds our minimum desired return of 7%. So, we certainly understand the question, but wanted to put it in broader context that while it may be 20-30% presently, it could just as easily be 5% or negative even in the next month or the next quarter. So versus a guaranteed 8%. So I think on balance, that the board made a good decision with regards to the loan program, which has been proceeding very well.
Let the record show that I voted in favor of
Yes, thank you. I said the board. I want you to remember.
So I'm not second guessing the decision.
To add to the CEO, I mean, we can look at it also as a diversifier. As he mentioned, we did excellent this fiscal year with our returns, but in times of down markets, that 8% fix that we will be getting at that low portfolio would be an excellent diversifier across the board.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
We know that a lot of people listen to these meetings, so we just want to be sure that everything is in the proper context. And this would be the third fiscal year in a row, of course, that we have posted so far excellent growth. So kudos to Mr. Henderson and our investment advisors.
I'm sorry, so this is the fiscal year in a row that what?
That we have experienced excellent growth in our investment portfolio, excellent returns. So I was just commending Mr. Henderson and our investment advisors. It's all good.
In terms of investment management and custodian fees, we paid about $26,000 calendar year to date. That was about $26,000 in investment management fees. Year to date, we've paid about $196,000. And fiscal year to date, we've paid about $290,000, which is broken down, I think, into about $83,000 in investment management fees, $159,000 in consultant fees, and about 48,000 in custodian bank fees. And fiscal year to date, we've collected about 23.8, so roughly 24,000 in securities lending, which we reinvested back into the portfolio, respectively. And that completes my report, Mr. Chair and trustees. And I'll be happy to answer any further questions if you have.
Any question for the investment officer?
Mr. Henderson, that was a very good report. Very good. Good job.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to accept the investment officer's report?
So move.
Moved by trustee Dorsey,
Second.
seconded by trustee Barry. Have a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Barry, yes. Trustee Dorsey?
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger? Trustee Liger?
Trustee Liger, yes.
Trustee Liger, yes. Trustee Russell, absent. Trustee Smith, excused. Trustee Colwood?
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 4 yes. 1 absent, 1 excused.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
You're welcome.
All right. Next item, new business. Consideration of amendment to the Advanced Restoration Services contract to repair the western flat roof at GERS St. Thomas Complex.
Mr. Chairman, I will ask our Chief Operating Officer with responsibility for such things to present this matter for consideration.
Go right ahead.
Good morning
Point of
again.
information, Chair.
Yes, sir.
The issue that was raised this morning in reference to the St. Croix AC, is that already covered in your budget, CEO, to replace it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Gum.
No problem. Trustee Dorsey. Good morning again, trustees. We're here today under new business on the agenda to seek an amendment to the existing ARS contract to fix the western roof. We entered into an agreement after being selected from 3 various contractors, selected ARS to fix our southern roof, and was under the understanding at that time that that was our final roof to be fixed, as the western roof had some repairs done a few years ago. The Division of Personnel experienced leaks after we had began the contract and the work had commenced for the southern roof. We asked a roofer to go investigate for us what we thought originally was just a flashing to be replaced. After further investigation, the roof has a lot of pinhole, they call it pinhole leaks, and some soft spots, mushy. So whatever temporary repair was done years ago has far past its life. And in order for the Division of Personnel not to experience leaks, so there are no other further environmental hazards, we're asking for an amendment because the roofer is already mobilized. We asked the roofer to send us a scope of work and an approximate cost. We forwarded that information to our architectural and engineering firm on contract, Juridian Design, for their input. Juridian Design wrote to us, I think it was Monday or Friday, indicating that they're in support of it, that if we had to remobilize, it would have been double or triple the cost, that the roofers have done good work, and that their work would come with a 20-year warranty. So we're asking for an amendment. The 64,000 could not simply be a change order. Of course, it exceeds that, and it's a different scope of work. So in line with the procurement policy, we're coming before the board to ask for the 64,000. Please bear in mind the original cost of the contract was almost 200,000 less than what was budgeted for the project. So the 64,000, that amount could be covered easily. So we're asking for your permission. We could not do that on our own. Any questions?
You could not do that on your own because what it surpassed some threshold. There's some threshold estimate. Yeah.
Correct. We only could do 15% above the original cost of the contract.
Okay.
And in consultation with Attorney Myers and Attorney Williams, because it's a different roof, the western roof and not the southern roof, and it's a small roof, the western roof, we opted to have an amendment to the contract, and those amendments are to come before the board. If it was simply a change order up to 15%, the CEO within the procurement policy could do that without coming to you.
And trustees, this is time sensitive in the sense that ARS is presently deployed on the southern roof. We don't want them to finish that work and then have to come back and mobilize again to do the western roof, because then we would likely incur additional costs.
Okay, so
Point it.
I'm good.
Go ahead, Dorsey.
Yes, Ms. Gomes, is there any other sections of the roof that needs to be done? Anything else?
Great question, Trustee Dorsey. No, we have done the northern roof. We did all 5, well, it's 4 hip roofs and a small section 5. We're doing the southern roof, which is about 95% complete right now. The western roof will be the last of the roof at GRS to complete. And again, all roofs have a 20-year warranty, so we should be good for about 20 years.
The western roof just got jealous and didn't want to be left out. So it protested at the very end.
So this is St. Thomas, right?
That is correct.
So is the roof in St. Croix okay?
Yes, the roof in St. Croix, it's a fairly newer building, a little less than 15 years old. So we don't have a problem on this roof at this time. There has been some minor, if you weren't here, but some minor leaks, but we discovered it wasn't from the roof. It's just how the AC ducts are done and we redid those, but this roof is good for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, any of the trustees have any questions? So can I get a motion to authorize the administrator to amend the ARS contract?
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Dorsey, seconded by Trustee Bowery. Have a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Bowery?
Yes.
Trustee Bowery, yes. Trustee Dorsey?
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger?
Yeah.
Trustee Liger, yes. Trustee Russell, absent. Trustee Smith, excused. Trustee Colwood?
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 4 yes, 1 absent, 1 excused.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees.
Mr. Chairman, before you entertain a motion for executive session, which is what I think was next.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to indicate that in my administrator's report for the meeting of the 26th, I neglected to mention that there was a prominent promotion within the GERS, and I wanted to correct that today. In our employee all-staff meeting of September 13th, I announced the promotion of our what should I say? Primarily our assistant general counsel and then our acting general counsel. I did announce that he has been promoted to the position of general counsel. So I had not sent a memo as I usually do to staff because it was a verbal announcement. Of course, he received it in writing. I would have copied the board on that memo had I sent a memo, but it was done in our all-staff meeting. So I wanted to share that news with the Board of Trustees as well. So congratulations. He was on trial for about a year and passed the trial.
Congratulations.
Speech.
Thank you very
Attorney
much.
Attorney Myers.
Yes, sir.
It's so funny. I was just sitting here thinking if I shouldn't make a motion today. for you to have that position. I was just sitting here thinking, I was just getting ready to do it, you know, I was just really thinking about it.
If only
And
people were
it's because you
promoted
work so hard, Attorney Myers.
by
You have-
motions.
And Mr. Dorsey,
Because you really put the time.
you have no role in that selection.
But I would have concurred.
You're usurping his power.
But I think I would have get a second, Attorney Williams.
Huh?
I think I would have get a second today.
Well, I'm very happy about that. I'm happy that everybody is pleased with the selection and well-deserved Attorney Myers. So we, of course, are in the process of, he's leading the effort, frankly, to identify an assistant, because that's important. It's quite a lot that the General Counsel Office handles. There were previously two attorneys. Now there's been one for about a year, and we'll find the right assistant, I'm sure.
So CEO, could there be any preference to bringing that individual out of the St. Croix office? Give some balance?
Out of the St. Croix office, we have no attorney in the St. Croix office.
That's the point. If we could have
them
someone.
based in the St. Croix office, I don't think it really matters much where they physically reside. I will defer to Attorney Myers to an extent with regards to where that person is. I really don't care, provided they're qualified and can do the work. We have phones, we have computers, we have planes. Yeah, so if somebody's identified in St. Croix, so be it. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so let's see. I told you we was gonna try to get away from the office. We're gonna come over today. As soon as he land, man, like.
But a great thought process, Trustee Dorsey. No objection whatsoever. To an extent, given the profession, I want to defer largely to Attorney Myers, because whoever is hired has to be highly qualified and has to work well with Attorney Myers. So we'll see what he comes up with.
Well, Attorney Myers, I listened for the speech.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the confidence that everybody's given me. And I will work very hard to keep you satisfied. All right. And that's it. Thank you very much.
I remember when he was first of the last school. So it just scares me up, you know.
I think it is.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the indulgence.
All right. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
You know, you have, let me read it now. Can I have a motion to go into executive session because this portion of the meeting will be closed to the public for matters pertaining to trade secrets or financial or commercial information or personal or legal matters or matters whose premature disclosure will frustrate the implementation of the proposed agency action. Do I have a mover?
I so move.
Sorry. Moved by Trustee Barry, seconded by Trustee
Liger.
Second.
Well,
Can I have a roll call, please?
yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Barry, yes. Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger.
Yes.
Trustee Liger, yes. Trustee Russell, absent. Trustee Smith, excused. Trustee Colwood.
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 48, 1 absent, 1 excused.
Okay, we'll recess for 5 minutes so that